For my Myth versus Media project, I wanted to look at Maui and see how he's depicted in the movie Moana versus how he's portrayed in the actual myth in the Hawaiian culture. Looking at both of these, I noticed that there were a lot of similarities, but there were primarily differences. And because we've all seen the movie Moana, or most of us have, I want to briefly go over Maui's actual myth and portrayed in the Hawaiian culture. Maui was the youngest of four. He had 3 older brothers. His father was Akalana, and his father was the keeper of the heavens, and his mom was Hinakawe, and she was just a human, which made Maui a demigod. He was often known to be a trickster. He played a lot of pranks and acted outside of societal norms, but along with that, he was also known to be very wise, playful, remorseful, and often described as a culture hero. Maui achieved 4 major accomplishments, the first being the birth of the Polynesia Islands and culture. He did this on accident through a challenge that he had with his brothers. 2 of his brothers were very skillful fishermen and would go out on a lot of fishing trips, and they would never let Maui go along because of his lack of understanding of fishing. After a few trips without any success, though, they reluctantly let Maui go along, and when Maui went along, he took out his magical fishing hook that he received from his father as a gift, threw it into the water, and he thought he caught a fish, so did his brothers, so it took them 2 days to reel in what they thought was a fish, but to their surprise, it ended up being the islands of Polynesia, which created the birth of it. The second one was raising the skies. It was said that humans had to crawl to get around because the sky was so low and it just kept lowering. A lot of people believe that if Maui didn't do anything, humankind would be crushed and it wouldn't exist. Maui felt bad for them, so as a result, he convinced his father to let him and help him raise the skies for the humans so that they could stand upright and they didn't have to crawl everywhere. The third was extending the day hours. His mom would complain about not having enough daylight to do her work, and Maui felt bad for her, so as a result, he went out and captured the sun god, La, tied him to a tree, and convinced him to extend the day hours. This is one of the bigger contributions that helped him get the title of a culture hero. The last one was bringing the secret of fire to humans. He also went out and seized the keeper of fire, which was a mud hen, and the mud hen was also a trickster, so to get the secret out of him, he had to strangle the hen. And he ended up giving it to him, and he was able to share that secret with humanity. This ended up becoming a huge part of the culture of Polynesia. Most of this was depicted in Moana, especially in the song You're Welcome that Maui sang to Moana on the island. However, Maui was portrayed very physically different in the movie, along with his family and his demise and the heart of Tahiti and how they were put together. Maui was depicted as short, overweight, cocky, unintelligent, where in fact he was not that way at all. They both did care about humanity and they wanted to provide a lot for humanity, but in the movie it seemed like Maui did that to get validation for himself. Physically, I have some pictures of Maui and how he was perceived in the movie. This is how he was perceived in the movie. Shorter, he had a lot of tattoos, he was wearing a necklace and a grass skirt. He was also overweight, whereas in the actual myth, he was much taller, much more fit. He didn't have a lot of tattoos, and his outfit is very different. Here's another one where he's pulling up the islands with his brother. And obviously the physical difference wasn't the only thing that separated them. The biggest thing was Tahiti and the heart of Tahiti and how he was related in that. In the movie, Moana went out to find Maui so that they could return the heart of Tahiti because it was polluting and destroying and killing all the other islands around it. It was shown that Maui was successful in getting the heart, and he got it for immortality, which is true in the actual myth. In the actual myth, Maui thought that death was a disgrace to the dignity of man, so he went out to go and steal the heart, not from Tahiti, but from Hine. That was the biggest difference, is that in the actual myth, the goddess of life was Hine and not Tahiti. But he did still go out and get the heart due to immortality, and he wanted that. However, in the actual myth, Maui was never able to get the heart. He had a plan and told his brothers his plan and turned them into birds to keep watch so that he could enter the body of Hine to get the heart and then leave her body, which would ultimately kill her. However, one of his brothers made a loud noise which woke Hein and killed Maui, and that was his demise. In the movie, that was never portrayed. Maui was able to successfully steal the heart, losing it and then getting stranded on an island and then being able to return it, which did not happen. And because of that, that was the biggest thing that separated them. His family was also portrayed very differently in the movie than it was in real life. In the movie, it said that his parents got rid of him as a baby, and his 3 other brothers were never mentioned in the movie, and he said that he was all alone. His brothers and him may not have gotten along in the actual myth, but his brothers and his parents were very active in his family life. And because of his physical appearance, his family life, and the overall story of him was so different, I would say that the depiction of him in Moana was mostly different than similar to the actual myth of Maui. The only thing that they really got similar was that he was a trickster. He did things for humanity, even though in the myth and in the movie they had different intents. Those were the only 2 things that I would say that they got right, and along with the contributions that he made. So overall, I would say that the movie's depiction of Maui is very different from the actual myth, and yeah, thank you.